Okay, next speaker is James Norney. James, a gunfly fishing guide at Mountain Fly, TV host and AFN's fishing show. He grew up on the Yarra River, so did I, sorta, and picked up the fly rod when he was 15 years old. James's talk is titled From Dystopia to Utopia, and he'll be discussing how environment restoration provides healthy fisheries. Come on, James.
Sorry for the sweaty hands. This is a little scarier than doing national TV. All right. So it ended up being, I guess, multiple changes, including this morning, kind of heading in all different directions. So maybe the title, don't worry about it too much. If you don't want to listen, feel free to close your ears and just look at photos. There's plenty of those. For me, I wanted to cover kind of how environmental restoration benefits us as anglers and how we can kind of take that and improve our fishing as through the seasons, we move through them as well. So I wanted to start with obviously habitat, the stuff that, all these great people do to build, these rivers that are, have been affected by bushfires, floods, obviously humans, and then putting them back in, with their log pinning, their boulder seeding, their rock groins, keeping the cows out of the rivers, which we all hate, and then obviously bringing the trees, the bushes, and everything back in, keeping the water temps down, bringing the food in for us. Oh, wrong one. So as you can see here, some of the works that have been done. Obviously here on the left we've got Christie's Lane on the Ruby, where the trees have been replanted. The Delatite, that is just a whole new river. This looks fantastic, with boulder seeding, new trees on the banks there, log pinning in the middle, and then obviously the Goulburn down on the right. The food. All this, I guess, restoration brings food into the rivers through the nymphs that obviously our trout like to eat, also the other things that are there as well. The leaves that come off the trees, the bushes that then provide the food for these aquatic invertebrates. The terrestrials that come off our bushes, our trees, these are the proper food source that our fish love. Obviously, our small-bodied and large-bodied fish are predating on each other, and also they benefit from everything that's kind of there. And the water temperature, I think that's a really big one too. And it was kind of funny because I believe Taylor talked about it this morning, and maybe even Phil did as well. Shaded water can get up to 10 degrees cooler than our unshaded pools, I thought that was pretty crazy. It obviously encourages the growth through all the fish, the macroinvertebrates, everything, just by having cooler water. Our mortality rates with our fish, whenever we are angling for them, most of us are catch and release, some of us obviously not, and that's fine. But we want to make sure that we can go back and catch those fish again. So having a cooler water temperatures is going to keep those fish alive for a longer period. And the fishing improves as a whole. The rewards for our environment. Every fish that you see is from northeast Victoria, and they are wild fish. I know some people are going to go, that's not from Victoria. It is, I promise you, right? Ask Louise, she's here. Yeah, beautiful. So the rewards, what do we get for basically all this work and effort that everyone does for us as anglers that we get to basically benefit from? The fishing improves as a whole. The visual beauty of the places that we get to go fishing. I think that's pretty important for everyone here. Most people want to go and fish in a place that is, they go there and they're like, wow, isn't this good to be here? You don't think about anything else. You're just thinking, man, this is beautiful. There's more places to fish, and there's more fish to catch as well. And then that's, isn't that what we all want? More fish. And the sport grows. New people want to be a part of it because they see the fantastic work that everyone's doing. The beautiful places that we get to go. There's no losing situation. And obviously more big brown trout. That's really important. That's what I want. It's just big brown trout everywhere, all right? So for adjusting to the season, I think a big conversation, particularly the last 2 weeks, I've heard a lot about it. Phil, I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. Everyone in Fisheries has probably heard a lot about it. There's no fish, right? So I think adjusting to the season is quite important. Obviously, Phil mentioned it, our water temps are freezing cold right now. We're looking at roughly 8, 10 degrees. So is that going to give us good fishing? Probably not. If we wait a couple of weeks, obviously when our air temps start to come up a little bit and our bug activity starts to increase. So I think if you just wait a little bit, I think it'll be fine. You'll also probably, some of us that have been fishing, will have noticed there's quite a number of spawning fish still. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but I've noticed it on multiple fisheries now. There's a lot of fish still paired up, still really focused on each other, not on the feeding aspect. So my feedback for that would be making sure that you're fishing a lot slower than what you typically would. It's not summer. You're not going to make one cast and know, oh, there's a fish in there. You've got to make multiple casts, fishing a lot slower, waiting for that fish to respond instead of just kind of quickly moving through the water and blowing it off as there's no fish here. Springtime. What a good time to be around, hey? Yeah. Our water temps start to increase. Our bug activity starts to increase as well. And I think, a lot of these lowland streams, picking where we're fishing, which is exactly what Phil talked about. I promise we didn't look at each other's presentations, picking the water that is best suited for the time of the year. Do I want to go to the mountain streams in spring when there's maybe still a lot of runoff, the water's moving a lot quicker? Am I going to enjoy myself? Is the fishing going to be as good as what it could be? Maybe not. So I want to pick maybe water that is the tail races that are in that spring flow. Obviously, we've got environmental flows at the moment coming through the Goulburn, but in 3 weeks' time, it's going to be back down to 1,000, 2,000 megs, and it's going to be beautiful springtime fishing. The summer. Obviously, summer's where it starts to get a little bit messy. People still want to be in those lowland streams where those water temps are starting to move 21, 22, maybe even more. Those fish are starting to push out of those locations and going, I don't want to be here. I've got to find cooler water. So looking for that cooler water, what does that mean? Maybe heading into the mountains where obviously our air temperatures are decreasing a lot, which means our water temperatures are going to be a lot cooler by just going up. Let's say you're in Marysville and you're heading up the mountain, you're at 600, 800 metres above sea level. Our water temps are going to be a lot colder. There's going to be more oxygenated water as well. So those fish are going to be happier, more active, and they're going to want to feed versus those fish that are struggling, really thinking about, I just want to live. I want to get through this low, warm water. And right. Then moving to our tail races. We've got 2 fantastic tail races. More if you want to count them, but we've got obviously the Mirror and the Goulburn that are both fantastic, and these are running consistently all year round. I think the Goulburn's water releases right now are 11 degrees, and at peak summer they're at 13 degrees. Peak summer, a 40-degree day, and the water temp's 13. That's pretty good, right? So those fish are pretty much staying active the whole time that they're out there. Those sight fishing, we've got big flows. You can fish out on the edges. You can just walk up, have a nice day, and just sight fish. Take your time. There's not a lot of stress on you or the fish too. And there's more space for anglers. So you don't have to worry about going to your favourite creek and there's already 3 cars there. You've got plenty of water to fish. Obviously our autumn time, we've got low water. And I think autumn's always that tricky one where you want it to be good, but it's just not what you think it's going to be. And it catches you every year. The fish mentality starts to switch. They're not super focused on feeding as much. They become the larger fish, and this is the time where you hook a 1-2 pound fish, and all of a sudden this big fish comes out and starts whacking on. You go, whoa, what happened there? You tend to see a lot more of that through autumn than you do than any of the other times of the year. And what you'll tend to find also is pods of fish. So you might go and fish 200-300 metres of water, not move a single fish, and then all of a sudden you see 20 fish altogether. So sometimes not being discouraged and not seeing fish, and just keep moving until you do find fish, and then start to slow down and start to be a bit more methodical in the way that you're fishing. So I think as an overview, our repaired streams are providing us with fantastic fishing opportunities, rather than what we kind of had in the past where it was a bit, where I'm going to go fishing, is it going to be good? there's certain pieces of water that are fishing good, but everyone's there. Now we're giving ourselves more opportunity to fish more places than what we were in the past. Adjusting where we're fishing throughout the year and not getting the same mentality that Phil talked about of being, this is where I fish last year and the fishing was amazing. Maybe it's not this year, maybe in 2 months, or it should have been last month, maybe not when you're there. So adjusting the way that we fish and where we're fishing. And I think most of all, having fun. That's the important part. No, that's what we all want to have. We want to go out, get on the water, have fun, and enjoy ourselves. I think that's it.